students, let's start our rest of the chapter. That is your first chapter, A Letter to God, and I am starting from here. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, that was a single hope, help from God. And now, all the family members of his family, they have only one hope, and that is help from God. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. And all the family members consoling Lencho that don't worry, everything will be sorted out, and no one dies because of hunger. That's what they say, no one dies of hunger. All through the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope, the help from God, whose eyes, as he has been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. One conscience means a sense that give you a knowledge what is right or what is wrong. What is wrong? And all over the night, Lenjo was thinking now what he will do, and all his, all his senses are working out. Lencho was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. And although he was a farmer and working like an animal in the field, working hard like an animal, but he know how to write. And the following Sunday at daybreak he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. And the following Sunday and the next Sunday he write a letter. And that letter he writes to God and carry himself and to the town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God, and that letter was nothing less than a letter to God. It is more than letter. God, he wrote, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes because the hailstorm. Now he writes, God, if you don't help me, and he tells he writes in that letter that God, if you don't help me, my family members going to die because of hunger, and I need 100 pesos, and with this I will sow seeds again, and the rest of the year I will feed my family. And then he wrote to God in the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled, went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the box. And then he went to the post office and dropped it into the mailbox there. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped as the post office, went to his boss, laughing heartily, and showed him the letter to God. One of the employee who was working in the post office, that was the postman, went to his office. Why? He got Lencho's letter, and he was laughing loudly and showed this letter to his boss, and it was written that a letter to God. Never in his career as a postman he had known that address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, also break out laughing, and the postman and his boss was fat. Amiable means a friendly person or pleasant person, also broke out laughing. And after reading Lencho's letter, both were laughing loudly, but almost immediately he turned serious and, taping the letter on his desk, commented, what faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter. Then he just when he was reading the letter, he suddenly turned into a serious note that, and he commented that what a faith. And after reading Lencho's letter, he noticed that Lencho had a great faith in God, and the he want to uh, maintain that faith of Lencho, starting up a correspondence with God. Means he means here shows that Lencho has a correspondence, means uh, the faith that he want to continue with the God. uh, Here shows this. So in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postman came up with an idea: answer the letter. So at last the postman come up with the postmaster came up with an idea that let's do something for Lencho. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, it had needed something more than goodwill, ink, and paper. But he stuck to his resolution. He asked for money from his employees. He himself came part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something from for an act of charity. So he was the postmaster was all alone not able to give all the money that Lencho was needed. So he requested his colleagues uh, to give charity, act as a charity. कुछ पैसे जो है कलेक्ट करने के लिए बोलता है और कोशिश करता है लेंचो की हेल्प करने के लिए. It was impossible for him to uh, gather the 100 pesos, so he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word of a signature: God. And then he collect all the money and and he put it in the envelope, and last of the letter he just make a signature of God.